Welcome to Lotus Me Bloom podcast. This is your host, Madison Ansel, and in this podcast, I talk a lot about spirituality, self-development, things I've learned, and so much more. So if you're into that type of stuff, then you found the right podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. So today's episode, I want it to be kind of short and sweet, but I think it needed its own podcast in itself because I think it's so important. And it's something I've been reminding myself here recently. And it's that quote of, we teach others how to treat us. And there's actually one that I just Googled, and it's the whole quote itself. It's by Tony Gaskins. Hopefully I said that right. But it's, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. And so I know I've touched on this in a few of my different episodes, especially with the people pleasing one, about boundaries and how, we allow people to treat us like shit if we don't ever put boundaries up. And how we feel about ourselves is kind of like how we allow people to treat us in a way, because everything is a reflection. And why I wanted to talk about this is because it is something that's been coming up for me. And it is something that I keep having to remind myself, because, it's hard when you really care about someone and you have love for someone and you want that person in your life. And I think we tend to make up excuses of why it's okay, or like why we put up with it. Maybe it's family. I think family is a difficult one for a lot of us to maybe cut connections with or cut ties with, because it is family. You do love them. But at what point is it jeopardizing our selves? I'm trying to word this in the best way possible, but at what point is it worth it? And I've been reevaluating friendships and just connections and where I place my energy in my own life. And I've had conversations with people within the last week or so about just things they're going through, and them asking me for advice of what they should do. And at the end of the day, it comes back to yourself and really asking yourself, is this worth it? Is this worth the bullshit? I keep saying this is what's bothering me. They're not listening to how I feel. And I think it's really important to have those conversations with people, because you can't expect someone to know how you feel if you don't ever say it. You can't expect someone to know how to treat you if you don't ever say, hey, I don't like when you say that, or have those boundaries or whatever. But I'm talking about the times when you have and nothing ever changes, and it's hard because you want to keep holding on because you have great memories with this person and you really care about this person. It's really difficult for family, like I said. But it's like, at what point? And I have a really difficult time with this, because I have talked about in my people pleasing episode where, I sometimes, I don't allow people to just have access to me that shouldn't. And I've been really dealing with a lot of the people pleasing stuff too. Like, I've been really reminding myself, like, hey, don't say sorry for something you didn't do. Just with like little shit. I've talked about this deeply into that podcast episode. Check it out. But, stop saying sorry for something you didn't do, and like worrying so much about how you came across if you saw someone at the store and, you wonder like, oh, did you say hi in a weird, rude way? Or like, did you come off as friendly? I worry about these things because I care a lot. And it's harder when it comes to people you actually genuinely care for, because like me, if you're like me at all, I care a lot about the people that I care about. Like, if you're in my circle and I call you a friend, I care about you. I really care about you. And I like go all in into my friendships and to my relationships. And in the past, I have not had the best experiences with friendships, and I have had to, really pull back and I found myself getting upset about, my energy not being reciprocated. But there was a lot of times I didn't speak about it. And then there also were a lot of times that I kept allowing the treatment. And I think it's very healthy to actually talk about what's bothering you, because in the past I have talked about this too, where I just kind of allowed shit to get, looked over, and then I would get bitter about something. And this isn't about friendships necessarily. I would love to do like an episode on just friendships, because I do have experience with like my own healing with it, and I'm still healing and going through that. And I think right now is like a missing piece of the puzzle for me in that healing journey, because I have had like a lot of, especially girlfriends, that just weren't the best, and our relationship didn't end well, or we just aren't friends now. And I'm working through all of that, and where I went wrong and what I should have done differently. And speaking up is one of them, and saying how you feel is one of them, because you do teach others how to treat you. And if you are just not speaking up when stuff bothers you, or you're just allowing people to keep doing the same shit, and it's like you've given them chance after chance, it's at what point did they run out of chances? You know what I'm saying? So I'm working through a lot of that, but this is like my last, I don't know, Mercury retrograde is really slowing me down and like making me go deeper into myself and my connections. And I do feel like the people that we keep in our life can hold us back, where career wise goes and our goals in general. I think sometimes when we have a relationship that we're keeping, we may not realize that it is holding us back from that new career that we're wanting to step into, because you think surface level it's so different, but it could be the universe's way of being like, hey, well, if you're not handling this situation, if you're allowing this person to walk all over you, what makes you think that you can handle this career that you have to manage a bunch of other people? Because you're clearly showing me right now that you can't handle even one person that you really care for. Imagine working, having 10 people work for you that you really care for, and you not having those boundaries. So I really had to like reflect on this, because I am going through that situation where it's been something that's been coming up for a while, honestly, for years. I'm like, I just don't know. Like it was a very like on and off type of energy between me and this person, very hot and cold all the time. And like, I would justify it of like, oh, that's just how we are. Like, that's just us, whatever. Like, that's, like making up excuses of why I kept this person around, because I did genuinely care for this person. And I found myself getting so worked up though about little shit and making excuses about, it's okay. Like that's just who they are. And what I'm trying to get at is that it's really difficult to walk away from someone that you care about, especially like if nothing really severely happened between you two. And if the situation is one of those where like they don't really take what you say seriously, so they don't understand like why you're acting the way you are. Honestly, the more I'm saying this, it's like, okay, the toxic situation where you have the gaslighter in the relationship and they don't really take anything you say seriously. They don't take you getting your feelings hurt seriously. And it's like, I've had to really sit back and be like, okay, I for myself have said time after time after time, like, what has bothered me and like what has hurt my feelings. And I've given this person chance after chance to like show that they even care that they hurt my feelings. And it's just always this like blasé, gaslighting response of like, oh, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. Or like, just something that really invalidates the fuck out of me because it's just who they are as a person. But it's like I clung on to like the good moments and like the fun times with this person. And it's just like, I'm getting to the point where it's not okay. And I have to really remind myself that I'm allowing this treatment. And what does it say about myself if I keep allowing someone to treat me like I'm not shit and to treat me like I don't have feelings and to treat me like the last option? Like, it says a lot. It says a lot about how I feel about myself. And I did all the things to like make myself feel better about it. I voiced my opinion. I said what hurt my feelings. Like, I'm doing the healthy things that you should do when there is conflict or when there are feelings involved that might not be great, happy, fun ones. I'm upset and I'm finally voicing it, because in the past for me, like with my friendships, for example, I had a really hard time voicing how I felt, like if they hurt my feelings or whatever, because in the past, like it didn't go well for me. Like they would just, get pissed off or whatever. So I just have this like response to like run away or just like cut ties and just block and never talk to them again. Not that I've ever really blocked them, but you know what I mean? Like I've had a lot of experiences where it's just like the friendship ends and no one really says how they felt. And you kind of are always wondering like, what went wrong? I have always kind of had those experiences where, we just mutually stopped talking. And I was trying with this other relationship that I'm talking about, do the opposite of that and to really voice like what upsets me and like whatever. And basically what it comes down to is like, sometimes I think that we're better friends than what we actually are, or like we have a deeper connection than we actually do. And this has happened to me in the past where like I just care so much about people and like I truly am invested in whatever like friendship or relationship that we have. And I do care. And sometimes I have realized that people don't care like I care. And that's okay. Not everyone has to care like I do. Everyone has their own way of showing, their feelings and whatever. But I think for me that I sometimes overestimate like what our relationship is, if that makes sense. And this isn't really necessarily about like actual relationships, like boyfriend, girlfriend type of thing, because for me, I was always kind of on the, I've had my fair shares with like love interests. Okay. Like I have in the past, like had relationships where I was allowing myself to get treated like shit. And I have a self-love episode talking about this, but there were times where I would, cry over a guy because I didn't think I was good enough. And really, I just didn't feel good enough for myself. And so it's an internal thing most of the time with all of this stuff. And that's why I say it's always good to like reflect on, why am I holding on to this relationship? What am I trying to get from this person? Is it validation? Like, am I trying to fill a void inside myself that I want to be loved? I want to see as valued. I want to see as, I just want to be seen as, good enough. And that's questions to ask yourself. I think it's difficult when you do have history with a person, like even with family, like you have known them your whole life, like they're family, you're meant to, get along and whatever. And when you've even had a friend that you've known like your whole life, it's difficult because you do have that like history to tie you together. Like no one knows you like that person knows you. And I think, like I said, I just was clinging on to those things for myself. And sometimes I forget that, like, hey, I don't really think we're as great as friends as I think we are. And clearly that's being shown. And this goes with family too. Like, there's times where I have to question, like, yeah, I get that we're family, but it's not cool that you're not keeping your end of the relationship as healthy as I am, you know? Like, it's a two-way street for everything, you know? You have to give and take with each other. And even with family, there's times where, like, I want to be done with them. I don't want to talk to them anymore because it's like there's things about them that I really just dislike, like just character traits, and you try to overlook those things because you love those people and you want those people in your life, regardless of family, friend, boyfriend, even girlfriend. You keep them in your life because you love them. And it's like, but at what point is it hindering you? And is it a reflection of like how you're allowing other people to treat you? Like, are you allowing people to just run all over you? And I was having this conversation with someone the other day, just with like girlfriend, boyfriend stuff. And it's like, it is hard to choose to walk away from someone that you love. I've done it in the past. Like, I've chose myself, even though I so badly wanted them to choose me and I wanted them to see, you know, my value. It was really difficult because I didn't want to leave. If we're talking about a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, I didn't want to leave the relationship because I loved this person. But at what point do you decide that, hey, they don't see that, you know, I'm worth anything. They don't see my value. They're not treating me how I want to be treated. I've given them chance after chance after chance. At what point do I just walk away and choose myself? And I think for many of us, we make the decision to choose ourselves way later than when we need to. And in a relationship like that, it's hard because, especially if you've been with someone for so long, you have that hope that they'll change, that they'll see, you know, you for what you bring to the table and treat you the way you want to be treated. But if you keep allowing that treatment, it kind of is a slap in the face to yourself, because it's like, damn, that's how you feel about yourself. Like, you don't feel like you're worth shit. So you're just going to stay around someone that keeps affirming that. Trust me, girl. I've been there with that, with guys and relationships. And maybe I'll do like a separate episode on just like how I even met someone that I felt like treated me right. But it was a lot of trial and error. And like, I did, you know, give myself to people that did not deserve it. And there was many nights where I cried because I didn't feel like I was good enough for the guy I was talking to or whatever. And truly, it was because I was allowing them to treat me like that. I was allowing the connection to keep going, knowing that like they weren't really treating me like the way I wanted them to, or their intentions weren't to be a girlfriend and boyfriend. You know, I was hoping that one day, you know, they would see that, hey, I actually want to date this girl. Like, you need to be really clear about your intentions and like what you want. What do you want and how do you want to be treated? Because that's going to set up your, you know, success rate with relationships. Because if you're going into a relationship or situationship, whatever, and the other person is clear about, hey, I really don't want a relationship. I don't want to date. Like, I just kind of want to be friends with benefits, whatever. And you like them more than, you know, friends with benefits, but you keep allowing the situation to go on because you're just hoping that they change your mind. It's like you're just allowing yourself to get heartbroken. Like, you are setting yourself up for failure in that way. Like, you're setting yourself up to get your heart broken, and That's why you have to just really be clear on what you want, and you would avoid all of that. And maybe you are clear on what you want. You obviously clearly want a relationship with this person that doesn't want one. But like, is it worth it? Is it worth to constantly like feel like you're not good enough, or constantly, you're asking for it? And it's hard because when there are feelings involved and you really love someone and you really have feelings for someone, it is difficult. I get it. You kind of have your like rose-colored glasses on, and you hope for the best and want to think that, they might change their mind and maybe ignore the red flags, but you are literally telling this person how to treat you because you're just ignoring everything that, matters to you. You're ignoring how you feel. And if it's a friendship or whatever, like if you're in a friendship that they keep like bypassing your feelings and just like laughing at whatever and just not making a big deal about when something does hurt your feelings, then why are you allowing it to happen? At some point, you are the person that is the problem because you're allowing yourself to keep going through it. And it's like, at what point do you get to that you realize that you're worth more and that this is not worth your time? And I know it's difficult. I know it's hard to walk away from people you love and you care about, because like me, I do have hope for people. I want to see the best in people. I want people to see me as, I feel like I am as a friend. I want them to see me as a great friend and someone that they would hate to lose. But the thing is, some people just don't have the capacity to care on that level or care about other people, and they have their own shit. And some people just are, shitty. Like they don't care like that about other people. And it's hard because you want them to, but at some point you have to realize that they're not going to. You have to realize they're not going to be what it is that you want them to be, and to stop expecting things out of people that can't provide the things you want. You have to stop having expectations for people that can't ever reach them. I'm not saying to lower your standards whatsoever. Never do that. But if you have expectations and they're not being met, and even if you've lowered a few, being like, oh, okay, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm expecting too much, whatever. Like, let me check myself. But if they're ignoring the core things that you value in a friendship, relationship, whatever, and they keep hurting your fucking feelings, and they keep making it seem like you aren't shit and you're not good enough, or making you feel like shit all the time, and you're getting triggered and you're getting upset about things and they're not bothered whatsoever. I'm not saying like, sometimes I think that I can be a little sensitive and I might take something a little too deeply than what it was. But I'm saying like, full on, you hurt my feelings, or you're being a shitty fucking friend, you're being a shitty fucking cousin, whatever, you're being a shitty partner. Like, I'm saying to that depth, I always try to check myself and be aware of what I'm doing in a situation. I apologize for my parts and my doings. I know I'm not perfect. I know my delivery sucks sometimes. I know I can be harsh, and I'm working on that. Like, I'm working on my delivery, and like, I know when I'm in the wrong, and I do apologize, but like, there are people that just don't have the depth to have any type of self-awareness or any type of, accountability. Some people just lack accountability, and to ever see their wrongdoing. And at the end of the day, it's like, you're allowing it to happen. How many times has this been going on, and they just kind of like laugh in your face, or, act like nothing's wrong after you've said how you felt a million times. Like, at what point do you stop allowing it to happen? And I was talking to a friend the other day about this, and, with relationships, I understand that, hey, it's really hard. They broke your heart, but you still want them around and you want to keep them in your life. But you are allowing them to make you feel like you're not good enough, or like at some point you just have to stop letting other people rule your life, and you have to choose yourself, and you have to choose what matters to you and what you feel like you're worthy of, and you deserve better. You deserve the best. And it is hard to sit and reevaluate that, oh my God, like I think it's really time for me to like step away from this person. And for me personally, like I feel like I've been getting signs year after year that it's time to move forward and to just like kind of cut this person out of my life. And it's been difficult because it is a very back and forth. Like when it was good, we're having a good time, and when it's not, it's not. And like I was the one that was just very emotionally involved because I am sensitive. I'm not afraid to say that. Like I am sensitive in the way of like I care deeply, and I just expect at least basic level, expectations out of people of like, if you're a friend, be there when you need to be there as a friend, and family member, whatever. Like I just feel like a lot of people are selfish nowadays, and I'm not selfish in that way. There is a good level of selfishness, but like I will be there for the important things. And I know like I don't always show up, 100%. I am more of a hermit. I do kind of like isolate myself, but like I will be there for what matters the most. And so I expect that out of people as well. Like I expect that bare minimum type of shit. And like if you can't even give me that, what is the point in having this continue? You know what I mean? Like I think it's real difficult when you do have history and you do have past with someone, like if you've been friends with them forever, or family even, because family's really sticky because it's like it's family, like I think other family members, when I've had issues with certain family members, my other family members would be like, it's family though, you just have to keep putting up with it. And it's like, no, I'm getting sick of that too. And I was going through this like last year really hardcore with like family stuff of like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if your family, like, if you can't have accountability for your actions, and if you're acting fucking selfish and your character traits fucking suck, like why should I have to keep putting up with it? I don't see the point in it. And I'm getting to that point, and I do have trouble with the family stuff because it is family, and there are times where like I cling on to like, oh, when we were kids it was so great, like we had a great time. But at the end of the day, it's like, some family members just kind of suck as people. Hate to say it, I'm talking more like distant family, like not my intermediate family, but like there's times where I've clung on to like, oh, we were so close growing up, and then it's like, why am I continuing to allow this bullshit? And it's difficult. It's really difficult when you have that history and you have that past, or you are family with someone, because I think we cling on to that because we cling on to that feeling of like what was and what could have been. But in reality, it's like, what is? Like, what actually is your relationship with this person? If it's shitty, if you are getting upset and you feel like your feelings aren't being heard, like, then it's not fucking worth it. And once again, we teach others how to treat us. And that's something I've been reminding myself, and what my mom even has been reminding me, because I, like I said, have been going back and forth. And I thought of this quote and I was like, yeah, I am allowing this to happen. And what is it saying about myself? I'm not respecting myself if I keep allowing someone to, in a way, disrespect me. and treat me like shit and treat me like I'm not worth shit, you know, and make me the bad guy when I'm not doing anything wrong. And yeah, it's just at some point, especially if you're in a toxic relationship, that's difficult too. When you're in a relationship or you have a friendship or you have a family member that's gaslighting as fuck and they just invalidate everything you fucking say, and you're trying to do the right thing by, you know, speaking up and saying how you feel. Those type of people just have a lot of their own fucking trauma and their own shit. I'm not making excuses for them, but they're just never going to see your side. They're never going to see that they're the problem. They're never going to take accountability for their actions. And like, as much as we may love them and care for them, it's not fucking worth it. And you just need to cut all ties with that. Like, that's my biggest advice there. If you're dealing with gaslighting assholes, is that you just have to realize that, you know, it's not you. And if it is you, like, take accountability for some of your actions. I do. I know I'm not perfect, but if you have and you've tried to better yourself and you've told this person how you felt and they just gaslight you and just invalidate you and they don't ever change their actions and it just keeps happening, then you are the problem because you are allowing it to happen. So I know it's difficult, and sometimes it does suck when you do decide to cut someone off because, like, oh damn, you want to send them this or you want to talk about this with them, and it is difficult. You're mourning what, you know, you had with someone when they're still alive. It's, oh my God, like, that's a whole episode in itself. Like, I've had to mourn friendships. I've had to mourn, like, friends that are still living, and it's difficult. And I used to really have difficulty with the ones that we didn't have closure. We didn't talk about things. And eventually we did kind of talk about things. Like, there was one that we didn't talk for years, and it ate me up inside. I had dreams about it. Like, eventually I think we actually did hash some shit out in the dream world. I don't know. Because it was like each dream we had got closer to having the conversation of like, why don't we talk anymore? And so that really ate me up. And then we kind of like got some closure, and it doesn't bother me anymore. But like, mourning someone that's still alive is very difficult because you think about them or you see something and you want to send it to them, and it's like, you don't think it's harmful because you're like, oh, I just want to send them this funny video, or I want to send them this, like, oh, they would understand this. And it's difficult because you don't think it'd be a big deal. But for me, I found myself like doing that, even though I just expressed how upset I was and how it bothered me. I felt like me just like sending things when I saw it and I thought of them, it made it okay. Like, we just kept brushing off the problem, even though we didn't brush it off. I was very vocal. I'd be like, hey, this really bothers me, whatever. And then we just brush it off and like, oh, you know, just like that's just what we do, you know, we argue and then whatever. And it's like, at some point I realized like, okay, me sending videos or just acting like everything's fine it's not fine. It's not fine. It's just brushing shit underneath the rug and just allowing myself to be treated once again like shit, and like my feelings don't matter. So I know it's difficult, and I know it doesn't seem like a big deal in the moment, but it's better to just cut off all communication, because you're just kind of allowing that gate or that door to be open when you do just send them a video or send them something on Facebook or whatever. Like, you're leaving that door open. And I think that's great when you're trying to like reconcile with someone. But if you're not, like, if you have tried to reconcile and like it just never changes, you're allowing the person to run all over you. That's what I'm trying to say, is like, you're allowing the door to be open for them to come and go when they fucking please. And it's not okay. You voiced how you said, how you felt. They don't fucking care, but you're still allowing them in your house and to have fucking dinner and to fucking hang out. Like, it's not okay. And at what point do you realize that? So that's what I've been dealing with, and that's what I've been going through, just really reevaluating relationships in my life and realizing that a lot of people just aren't worth my time or energy. And I am allowing it to happen. I'm allowing myself to get my fucking feelings hurt, And it's a hard pill to swallow that you realize, like, okay, you're the problem because you keep allowing it to happen. I'm not justifying their actions. Some people just fucking suck. And you have to realize that. You have to realize this is not worth my time or energy. They don't see my worth. They don't treat me the way I want to be treated. I'm out. And you have to just choose yourself at the end of the day, because you are allowing people to treat you how you want to be treated. You're allowing it to happen because, like, you might not say you want to be treated like shit, but you're allowing it to happen. So it's like you're showing them to treat you like shit. But anyways, I wanted this to be a shorter episode, and I feel like I got my point across, and it's not as short as I wanted it to be, but you got the gist. I hope you guys really learned something from this, even though it's just like real cut and dry and like very to the point. Stop allowing people to have access to you that doesn't deserve access to you. Like, stop allowing people to treat you like shit when you've given them chance after chance after chance, and you have vocalized and you've done everything that you can do on your end to make it work, and it's not working. It's time to walk away. It's time to choose yourself. Okay, so if you want to follow me, all my social medias are at Madison Ansel, and if you want to like follow my Lotus Me Bloom, it's all at Lotus Me Bloom. LotusMeBloom.com. All the links are down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. And leave a 5-star review if you're listening. But that's all I have to say today. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.